Good evening to all my brothers and sisters out there in holiday land. It is yet another day that the Lord has kept me. Tonight is Wednesday, December 16th, 2 days after my son was born, and 2 days today when my daughter was born. Happy birthday to both of you. I thank God for giving me the opportunity to be your mother. May you continue to be blessed, and don't you ever forget that Jesus is the reason for the season. We will be covering Jeremiah chapters 34 and 35 tonight. Next week, we will get off of Jeremiah for just a week, and we will do our Christmas story, which we traditionally do every year. So that's our plan, and I'm hoping that I can get the study sheet to you guys. I'll do the best I can, and if you don't get it before Christmas, make sure you complete it before New Year's, okay? We will study Matthew chapter 1, verses 16 through 25, and Luke chapter 2, the entire chapter, okay? I am loving the snow. They tell us that it's been 2 years or more since we've experienced snow in our area. I know some don't like it, but this is a good way for us to stay sheltered in our homes for a few days. Don't you think? Thank you, Jesus. We need to review a little tonight about commitment and covenant. I know we have been talking about so many people out here not listening to God and straying away from His commandments, but there is a family in our next chapter who really did stick to the oracles of God, and God dedicated a whole chapter to let us know about this family. Jeremiah 32, that's from last week, verse 41 told us the following: Yea, I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and with my whole soul. And you know, we talked about that. I don't know if that's mentioned anywhere else in the Bible, but God has a heart. God has a soul. He wants to give us everything that He can based on our obedience to Him. We need to submit our whole hearts and our whole souls to Him. There are a lot of names in these 2 chapters, especially I was thinking about it, chapter 36, but we're not going to go into 36. I was jumping the gun a little bit, but I suggest that you do a little extra research on some of them to see if you can see the connections between the families and their fathers. There's good news about the vaccines that will become available to us within the next few months. I do plan to get mine, and I hope you will make plans also. In the meantime, wash your hands, wear your masks, and keep your distance. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rechabites tonight, and I'm hoping that's the way you pronounce it. The descendants of Rechab through Jonadab or Jehonadab, they belong to the Kenites. We don't know who they are. We have to look all this stuff up, and I'm going to try to give you a little blurb tonight. But they belong to the Kenites, who accompanied the children of Israel into Palestine and dwelt among them. Moses married a Kenite wife. That's in Judges 1 and 16. And Jael was the wife of Heber the Kenite. That's in 4:17. Saul also showed kindness to the Kenites in 1 Samuel 15, verse 6. The main body of the Kenites dwelt in cities and adopted settled habits of life. But Jehonadab forbade his descendants to drink wine or to live in cities. They were commanded to lead always a nomad life. They adhered to the law laid down by Jonadab and were noted for their fidelity to the whole established custom of their family in the days of Jeremiah. And this feature of their character is referred to by the prophet for the purpose of giving point to his own exhortation. They are referred to in Nehemiah and First Chronicles. And they are a tribe that was found in Arabia near Mecca, a tribe claiming to be descendants of Jehonadab. This is a certain researcher was looking and found that. And recently, a Bodon tribe has been found near the Dead Sea, who also professes to be descendants of the same Kenite chief. This is strange talk, but when I start reading the scriptures, you'll understand why I'm giving you a little prelude before we get started. But just remember, this is a family who the father of this family forbade them from drinking and from living in the cities. And we'll understand why a little later. In 2 Kings, Jehonadab was the son of Rechab. He is mentioned in 2 Kings, and he was a Kenite. He was a supporter of Jehu, who was the son of Nimshi, in the elimination of the house of Ahab, and in suppressing worship of Baal throughout Samaria. So Jehonadab had a lot to do with trying to get rid of the worship of Baal throughout Samaria. Jazaniah, son of a man called Jeremiah, not the prophet, and grandson Habazzina, was the leader of the clan of the Rechabites at the time of the prophet Jeremiah. The prophet Jeremiah brings Jazaniah and other members of his clan to the temple, where they refuse to drink wine offered to them in commemoration of their ancestor. Jonadab, son of Rechab, who had forbidden his followers to drink wine, Jeremiah commends them to the people and shows them as an example of people who know how to keep their principles. Okay? So that's the family that we're going to talk about tonight. And the leader of it was Jehonadab, and this is who we're trying to get explained to you tonight. Okay? So as we're going along in Jeremiah 34, we're going to start on 34 tonight. And I want you to remember that there's a message here in 34. We're going to talk about Zedekiah the king. And it says, "The word which came unto Jeremiah from the Lord, when Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon and all his army and all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion and all the people fought against Jerusalem and against all the cities thereof, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Go and speak to Zedekiah king of Judah, and tell him, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. And thou shalt not escape out of his hand, but shall surely be taken and delivered into his hand. And thine eyes shall behold the eyes of the king of Babylon, and he shall speak with thee mouth to mouth, and thou shalt go to Babylon. Yet hear the word of the Lord, O Zedekiah king of Judah. Thus saith the Lord of thee, Thou shalt not die by the sword, but thou shalt die in peace, and with the burnings of thy fathers, the former kings which were before thee, so shall they burn odors for thee, and they will lament thee, saying, Ah, Lord, for I have pronounced the word, saith the Lord." One of the things that we want to remember, I told you last week, you remember when Zedekiah put Jeremiah in jail because Jeremiah had come and told him that Nebuchadnezzar was going to take him, even though Zedekiah was working as one of the kings that was helping Nebuchadnezzar rule, he was also backstabbing Nebuchadnezzar, trying to create a conspiracy so that he could overthrow Nebuchadnezzar. So these are some things that we want to keep in mind. Zedekiah was not an obedient servant. He was a king, but he was a two-timer. He was two-faced. And God saw all of his, I'm going back to that word last week, shenanigans, and was not pleased with what he was doing. So Jeremiah is giving him another word from the Lord. And that's what's happening in the first 5 verses here. Verse 6, then Jeremiah the prophet spake all these words unto Zedekiah king of Judah in Jerusalem. When the king of Babylon's army fought against Jerusalem, and against all the cities of Judah that were left against Lachish and against Azekah, for these defenced cities remained of the cities of Judah. This is the word that came unto Jeremiah from the Lord. After that, the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people which were at Jerusalem to proclaim liberty unto them. So you see, the king was still backstabbing him, trying to tell the people, don't worry, we're going to be free. We're going to be able to live here in Jerusalem. So here's what you got. The word of the Lord came against Zedekiah, who was king of Judah. God tells Zedekiah of the soon fall of Jerusalem and the promise that Zedekiah would die a natural death. And then in 6 and 7, Jeremiah brought the word to the king. Now, there's another incident that is going to happen with Zedekiah. You see, sometimes you can become a person who is not honest. Let's put it that way. And people can't put their trust in you. But Zedekiah really was trying to live on both sides of the fence at the same time. When he was with Nebuchadnezzar, he was his friend. When he was not with him, he was making promises to the people of Jerusalem and saying, oh, we're not going to have to leave. You're going to be free and you're going to be set free and all of that. But they had slaves and indentured servants and people that were still beholden to them. And Zedekiah was making promises to them, but also God had given some instructions to Zedekiah that he didn't observe either. It's hard for a person to obey one area or aspect in their life if they have messed up in another area. Most of the time, if something is messed up in one area, you're going to continue it's going to be like a domino effect rather than try to straighten that other thing out. But here's what, in verse 9, we're going to be talking about some of the other things about slavery and promises that people make. Verse 9, that every man should let his manservant and every man his maidservant, being an Hebrew or an Hebrewess, go free, that none should serve himself of them, to wit, of a Jew his brother. Verse 10, now when all the princes and all the people which had entered into the covenant heard that everyone should let his manservant and everyone his maidservant go free, that none should serve themselves of them anymore, then they obeyed and let them go. But afterward they turned and caused the servants and the handmaids whom they had let go free to return, and brought them into subjection for servants and for handmaids. And this is what is not right. When you promise someone, make a promise to someone, you're supposed to keep that promise and you're supposed to live by that promise. But the sin of setting slaves free and bringing them back into servitude, God wasn't pleased with that. So in most of the things, when you start thinking, going back on a covenant to release slaves from their service, that's not being upright with your fellow man. So make sure that when you make your promises or when you make a deal with someone, follow through with that. They always said a person is as good as his name. Okay? Verse 12. Therefore the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondmen, saying, At the end of 7 years, let ye go every man his brother and Hebrew, which hath been sold unto thee. And when he hath served thee 6 years, thou shalt let him go free from thee. But your fathers hearkened not unto me, neither inclined their ear. God has such a hard time getting people to obey him. And this was another incident of that. And ye were now turned and had done right in my sight, in proclaiming liberty every man to his neighbor, and ye had made a covenant before me in the house which is called by my name. He was very pleased because they did let them go. Now, verse 16, but ye turned and polluted my name, and caused every man his servant and every man his handmaid, whom he had set at liberty at their pleasure, to return, and brought them into subjection, to be unto you for servants and for handmaids. It's amazing how can I say this? It's amazing how similar the events of our everyday life parallels with the events of the Bible. Do you remember when certain groups of people were set free in this country? And do you realize that methods of subjection or servitude has been implemented even though they were told that they were free? And I'm not just talking about one group of people. Servitude is something that we can't get out of because there is some, how do you say it? You just pushing down on the person. If a person is trying to get up and you got the hands on their shoulders and they can't get up, but you're telling them, get up, that's hard to do. And most of the time, that's the way the person that is more advantageous, those are some of the liberties that that person would take over the person that is less advantageous. I'm hoping I'm saying it the right way. I don't want to get you all stirred up here. But when you make a promise to someone, you don't make a promise and then go write in the book something else. And you don't rewrite the script. And most of the time, the script has been written several times over again in different forms and fashions, but it meant the same thing as it meant the first time, even though you were told that everything was all right. I hope I'm saying that right, because I'm feeling that real good tonight. Verse 17, therefore, thus saith the Lord. We're on chapter 34, by the way. 17, ye have not hearkened unto me in proclaiming liberty, every one to his brother, and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim a liberty for you, saith the Lord. To the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine, and I will make you to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And I will give the men that have transgressed my covenant, which have not performed the words of the covenant, which they had made before me. You make a promise before the Lord and you transgress against the promise, God's not going to forget that. When they cut the calf in twain and passed between the parts thereof. Verse 19, the princes of Judah and the princes of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priests, and all the people of the land which passed between the parts of the calf. I will give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life. And their dead bodies shall be for meat unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of the earth. And Zedekiah king of Judah and his princes will I give into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life, and into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which are gone up from you. Behold, I will command, saith the Lord, and cause them to return to this city, and they shall fight against it, and take it, and burn it with fire, and I will make the cities of Judah a desolation without an inhabitant. This is all that God was talking about when he told Jeremiah to let the people know they're going to have to leave Jerusalem. Regardless of how familiar a territory may feel, or regardless of how you feel that you own this, or this belongs to you, at some point in time, you're going to have to give up some things. I'm learning that very, very quickly, but I'm moving slowly. And most of the time, we don't want to be in disobedience with God. So we need to do the best we can and make haste in doing it, especially if it pertains to obeying the laws of the land and the laws of God. We can't play with God anymore. His patience is running out with us. There's a lesson of the Rechabites, and they had a test, and we're going to get into that chapter. Chapter 35 is the one that I was talking about. I think I read about Jonadab a little early, but I want you to listen to some of this that I'm going to say. In the chapter 35, God is going to tell Jeremiah to speak to the Rechabites. Jeremiah does as God instructs him to. The Rechabites refuse to drink the wine, and that's in the first part of the scriptures. So we're going to read those scriptures, and then we'll go with the second part of the lesson. The word came unto Jeremiah from the Lord in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, saying, Go unto the house of the Rechabites, and speak unto them, and bring them into the house of the Lord, into one of the chambers, and give them wine to drink. Okay, now here's what's happening. Do you remember when Satan went to heaven? I guess he did, or knocked on the door. He talked to the Lord, and he was going to and fro, seeking whom he could devour. And the Lord said, Have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him on the earth. Well, this is a trial, and I've finally found out I'm feeling this thing. When God asks you to do something, he may bring someone into your presence to check you out, to see if you would do or are doing what he asked you to do. So I might be talking in riddles tonight, but I'm trying my best to get it right. I'm going back to verse 1. The word which came unto Jeremiah from the Lord in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, saying, Jeremiah, verse 2, Go unto the house of the Rechabites, and speak unto them, and bring them into the house of the Lord, into one of the chambers, and give them wine to drink. Verse 3, Then I took Jazaniah, the son of Jeremiah, the son of Habazaniah, and his brethren, and all his sons, and the whole house of the Rechabites. You got to be sober to say these names. Verse 4, And I brought them into the house of the Lord. He's obeying the word of the Lord. He's telling him, go down there to the house of the Rechabites, speak to him, and ask him to come up to the chambers. Okay, and when you get them to the chambers, this is what I want you to do. So he said, I brought them into the house of the Lord, into the chamber of the sons of Hanan, the son of Igdaliah, a man of God, which was by the chamber of the princes, which was above the chamber of Messiah, the son of Shalom, the keeper of the door. And I sat before the sons of the house of the Rechabites. Now this is Jeremiah talking. I sat before the sons of the house of Rechabites, pots full of wine and cups. And I said unto them, drink ye wine. But they said, we will drink no wine, for Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, commanded us, saying, ye shall drink no wine, neither ye nor your sons forever. Now, that's not the only thing that Jonadab taught him. But listen to this. Here is a family of Rechabites. That's what they were called. This family was, the fathers were told by the Lord what to do and what not to do. This father, and probably the mother, most of the fathers, set the kids down, trained them, taught to them, told them what thus saith the Lord, and it became a part of the children. And as a result of that, probably after the father passed on, then the other father took over. They were teaching, and the teachings were passed down through the generations. Okay, the Lord told Jeremiah, go get that family, take them down to the house, and offer them wine to drink. They said, verse 6, we will drink no wine, for Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, commanded us, saying, ye should drink no wine, neither ye nor your sons forever. That's not all we were taught. Verse 7, neither shall we build house, nor sow seed, nor plant vineyard, nor have any, but all your days ye shall dwell in tents, that ye may live many days in the land where ye be strangers. Thus have we obeyed the voice of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, in all that he hath charged us, to drink no wine all our days, we, our wives, our sons, nor our daughters, nor to build houses for us to dwell in. Neither have we vineyards, nor field, nor seed, but we have dwelt in tents, and have obeyed and done according to all that Jonadab our father commanded us. Now, here are people who received instruction from their parents, followed their directions, performed their practices, and thus lived. I can't imagine living in tents all my life or not planting anything. I was fortunate. My mom did a lot of planting. I didn't do that. But when you start thinking about this, they obeyed a human being. Okay? God has told us from the beginning what he wants us to do. They were to be commended for listening to human beings give instructions. It's very seldom that you will find human beings on this earth today that will sit down and listen to their elders or teach or listen to the teachings of their elders and try to improve their lives by following their instructions. So we have trouble listening to our elders, and we have trouble following and listening to God. Verse 11. But it came to pass when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came up into the land, that we said, Come, and let us go to Jerusalem, for fear of the army of the Chaldeans, and for fear of the army of the Syrians. So we dwell at Jerusalem. I wonder sometimes, why do we have examples in our lives and results that we've seen, and we still make the same mistakes? Verse 12. When we're thinking about verse 12, there is a contrast that we're going to talk about between the men of Judah and Jerusalem. And there's some things here that I wanted to read before I get into this next phase here. It says, Will you not receive instruction to obey my words? God revealed the reason why he instructed Jeremiah to make the unusual offer to the Rechabites. Their remarkable obedience was a strong contrast to the refusal to receive instruction among the people of Judah and Jerusalem. In a sense, God only asked from us what we are willing to give to other people or other things. The Rechabites were willing to obey their ancestral father. It was not wrong for God to simply expect the same heart of obedience from the people of Judah. This people has not obeyed me. A second contrast was evident in the way that the Rechabites obeyed the command of their father, while the people of Judah and Jerusalem disobeyed the commands of God himself, though he repeatedly brought those commands to them through his prophets. The Rechabites obeyed a fallible leader. The people of Judah disobeyed the eternal God. The Rechabites received their command only once from their leader and obeyed. The people of Judah received their command from God again and again and still disobeyed. The Rechabites obeyed regarding earthly things. The people of Judah disobeyed in regard to eternal things. The Rechabites obeyed their leaders' commands over about 300 years. The people of Judah continually disobeyed their God. The Rechabites would be rewarded. The people of Judah would be judged. So that's what we have to listen to and to look forward to when we don't obey God. We don't listen to man. We don't listen to God. We do what we want to do, when we want to do, how we want to do it, because we think we're sovereign, not God. Verse 12. Then came the word of the Lord unto Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Go and tell the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, Will ye not receive instruction to hearken to my words, saith the Lord? The words of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, that he commanded his sons not to drink wine, are performed. For unto this day they drink none, but obey their father's commandment. Notwithstanding, I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye hearken not unto me. I have sent also unto you all my servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them, saying, Return ye now every man from his evil way, and amend your doings, and go not after other gods to serve them, and ye shall dwell in the land which I have given to you and to your fathers. But ye have not inclined your ear, nor hearkened unto me. Because the sons of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, have performed the commandment of their father, which he commanded them, but this people hath not hearkened unto me. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, God of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will bring upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem all the evil that I have pronounced against them, because I have spoken unto them, but they have not heard, and I have called unto them, but they have not answered. And Jeremiah said unto the house of the Rechabites, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, because ye have obeyed the commandment of Jonadab your father, and kept all his precepts, and done according to all that he hath commanded you, therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Jonadab the son of Rechab shall not want a man to stand before me forever. So he's made the promise to him. That means that the Jonadab, there is still remnants of Jonadab and his people in the world today. They obeyed the Lord. So I looked at that, I thought about that and was thinking, there is a remnant. There's a remnant somewhere that has taken the precepts of their ancestors, that have taken the rules and the regulations and the commandments of their ancestors, have followed them to a T, and they have branched off into other groups of people in different lands. They say some people might live in China, some people might live in some other parts of the world, but there are a group of people somewhere that strictly abides by the rules of the house, the order of their house. And it's hard for God to get his people to abide by the order of his house. I love the Lord, and I love him dearly. And I just think sometimes that there's a lot for us to understand about the Lord. He gives us directives. He gives us all kinds of issues and things that we should abide by, and we don't abide by them. But I thank the Lord for the lessons tonight. I had 3 chapters that I was going to go through. I thought that would be too much, so I put that other chapter aside. And this is the end of our service for tonight. But I want you to remember, on Saturday, we do plan to have the business conference for the church members. And we want you to know that whatever it takes for you to have a wonderful Christmas, we want you to do that, okay? Except do shelter in place, because we don't want to endanger ourselves. I pray tonight for truth to once again become a normal standard of practice, relaying information to one another. I pray for the healing of our nation. I still praying for that we have a peaceful transition for our President-elect Joseph Biden. I thank God for his grace and his mercy as he witnesses such ungodliness in this world today. Good night, everyone. To those of you who stayed with me, thank you very much, and I hope to see you next week. Remember, we're going to do the Bible study next week, okay? And we'll be talking about the Christmas story. Peace.